Hi guys, my name is Sive and welcome to a spring TBR. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of books that I would like to read this season. This is an appropriate way to construct TBRs for me because I'm a mood reader and I have failed at TBRs that I have constructed for myself in the past that focused around what I wanted to read in 1 month. So instead of doing an April TBR, I am doing a spring TBR and it allows a little bit more flexibility. Two things have happened when I have done set TBRs for the month in the past. Either I follow it and I do not enjoy myself, or I just don't follow it at all and therefore the TBR is pretty much just thrown out the window. I would like to go ahead and clarify that just because I'm labeling this a spring TBR does not necessarily mean all of these are themed around spring. A lot of these reads have nothing to do with spring or growth or renewal, but a couple of them do, and I did decide to pick them up during the season for that reason, but not all of them actually fall under the category of spring or festive. So just a disclaimer there. So this is my first time trying like a seasonal TBR, so we'll see how this goes and if I actually stick to it. But yeah, let's get into it. If you don't know this about me already, I like to read multiple books at a time. I like to be able to switch it up, and reading multiple books allows me to do that. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 current reads. First off, I am reading Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky, and this is a horror story about a young boy who gets lost in the woods for 6 days, and when he comes out, he has an imaginary friend. Essentially, the vibes that I'm getting so far is it's very much like a second dimension of this imaginary world that he is now able to interact with. Super creepy. I'm surprised at how like gory and like straight up scary this is. A lot of the horror that I read is very focused on ambiance and atmosphere, and that's what makes the book so creepy. This one is that way, but it also has a substantial amount of gore. So keep that in mind, but incredibly good, loving it so far. I'm about 40% of the way through it. The second book is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace, and this is a YA fantasy about a princess and a pirate and a mermaid. It's very like band together to like get something done and beat the bad guy. It's a good mood lifter after reading some of like the heavier, denser fantasies that I like to read, as well as like something like The Imaginary Friend, which is horror. So I'm about 3/4 of the way through this. This is actually a reread for me, and we'll get into why I'm rereading it in a second. I'm really enjoying it so far. I reread it in the summer, and there's actually a lot of stuff that I did not remember, and I'm enjoying experiencing this book again. I do recommend this if you want to try a light, fun, adventurous YA fantasy that grips you in and like holds your attention really easily. This is a very easy read and I'm kind of flying through it, so I do recommend. And the last book that I'm currently reading is Foundry by Robert Jackson Bennett, and this is an epic fantasy story that I have mentioned in the past. I actually was reading this in a reading blog earlier this month and I was enjoying it. However, I kind of just got distracted by some other reads and I haven't picked this up in like 2 weeks, so it is technically still a current read. However, I'm obviously not prioritizing it and I wonder if I'll eventually DNF it. It's very good though, so I shouldn't do that. I definitely should continue to pick this book up because when I do read it, I really enjoy it. It's definitely up my alley. It's very action-packed. This story is about a thief and a heist that goes wrong when she realizes what she has stolen is of ancient artifact significance that has to do with the magic system that is revolved in this plot. It is extremely interesting, lots of fight scenes, lots of action and running around, so definitely recommend this if that's something that you would like to pick up. Okay, those are what I'm currently reading right now and hope to finish this spring season, so let's get into a couple of books that I'm not currently reading and I'm excited to pick up. I mentioned I was rereading All the Stars and Teeth, and that is because Adeline Grace put out the final installment of this duology, and that is All the Tides of Fate. And like I said, this is the second book to the series, and I'm very excited to pick it up. I'm definitely enjoying these characters, like I said, and I think this is just going to be another really fun, light, adventurous read. When I finish rereading this first one, I will likely go ahead and instantly pick up All the Tides of Fate. Also, how pretty are these covers? Gorgeous. The next book on the spring TBR is The Society of Timid Souls, or How to Be Brave by Polly Moreland. And this book is a nonfiction, and it's actually inspired by a 1940s troupe of entertainers who got stage fright. And Polly Moreland basically takes a lot of different experiences and voices and stories and groups them together into this little book. There are a couple of different settings that are explored in this book, including a hospital ward, as well as a stage used for entertainment, showing how humanity can do amazing things, and even the most timid men and women can overcome fears. This book was actually recommended to me by my mom, and this is her copy, and I'm very excited to read it. She recommended this to me a very long and embarrassingly long time ago, so I'm excited to finally pick it up and be able to give her her copy back. The next book I would like to read is The Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys, and this book I actually mentioned also in a past reading vlog as kind of like a supporting act to the other things that I was reading, and I never got around to it. This book is related to Jane Eyre and explores a plot line that is actually one of the large plot twists at the end of the story, so I can't actually give you any sort of summary without spoiling Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Obviously this is not by Charlotte Bronte, but it is paired with that novel and it explores this other character and their life. Jane Eyre is one of my favorite Gothic classic novels, and I'm just excited to pick this up. The next book I would like to read is Bitter Blue by Kristen Kishore. This book is the third installment to the Graceling Realm series, and it is a YA fantasy series that I've been reading for about a year now, and I've read the first, Graceling, the second, Fire, and now the third is Bitter Blue. They actually just had a recent installment called Winterkeep, making that the fourth in the series. Graceling and Fire don't necessarily follow the same characters. They're separate stories following different plot lines and different people. However, they do happen in the same realm. They happen in the same geographical location. This book, however, jumps back to Graceling. A character called Bitter Blue is explored, and you're introduced to them in the first book in the series, and this book is about that individual after a couple of years have now passed and where they are at politically, socially, and related to the magic system that is in this world. I know that I'm going to love this because I loved Graceling and I loved Fire, so I actually am not going to look into a whole lot of the synopsis. I'm going to go into it blind, and I'm just going to go headfirst along for the ride, and I'm very, very excited. And last, and definitely not the least, actually the largest book. Is it? Oh yeah, it's definitely the large. Holy smokes, yeah. Okay, my last read is going to be Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, and this is the third and final installment to the Farseer trilogy, which I have been reading for the past month or so. And it follows our main character, it's just so good. It follows our main character Fitz, who is a bastard son of a royal heir. It follows his story as he navigates some pretty serious court politics, as he is trained and embraces a secret and deadly occupation, as well as trying to learn and navigate through a fragile, like a time bomb, magic system, which is incredibly interesting. Because this is the third and final installment, I cannot really give too much summary without saying spoilers for the whole series, because a lot of stuff has happened. This book will probably be one of the longest books that I read this year at 820 pages, and I just absolutely love the second one. The first one was okay. The second one was fantastic, and I'm so invested in these characters. Robin Hobb just does an amazing job at building characters who you have no idea what they're going to do. They are not predictable, and it just keeps you on the edge of your seat for the entire ride. What I would love to see from this book is a lot more of the magic being developed for Fitz and some of his companions. But yeah, I have really enjoyed this series. It's my first Robin Hobb series. I'm over the moon in love with it and the characters, and I think about them and I want them to be friends with me. Which, when I say that, like, it makes me sound like a nerd, but isn't that what, like, books are meant to do? Like, isn't that what makes a good book? When there's a character that's in my head and I want to know if they're gonna be okay, and I want them to be all right and to get out alive or just end up and be happy in the end of the story. Like, that's what I think makes a good book, and Robin Hobb has evoked those emotions from me, and I'm ready to get my heart torn into pieces by this book, so here we go. So that concludes a little spring TBR, a little seasonal TBR. Thank you for joining me. I had a great time chatting with you about some books that I'm excited to read, some series I'm excited to start, some series I'm excited to finish, and it was just a great time. So I hope you enjoyed yourself too, and have a great rest of your day. I will see you in the next video. Bye!